Hello, world! It's me, all by myself. This is terrifying. Well, I mean, it's me and Professor James Perry, who he told me his educational background, and I promptly forgot after I got like all ooh, and then I had like other things to take care of, and yeah, it kind of flew out of my brain. So, can you remind me, please, sir, why is it that you're on our show?
Oh, I've known Vinny and Luke, or known them really via only Facebook and YouTube and broadcasts and their videos over the years. Since the fires in 2016, that's how I met them. And I have, many connections to them and their thinking. I think those two guys are actually very good at media and broadcasting, let alone the movies and the other things they're doing now. But yeah, my background's in philosophy and humanities. So I've got a couple master's degrees there, and I've got some experience, a lot of experience in speech, rhetoric, teaching speech, and I've been a hard news journalist for about 12, 13 years of my life, and
Nice.
for the rest of it, I've been a professor. So professor
Awesome.
of philosophy most of the time.
Professor of philosophy.
Yeah.
So you actually got a philosophy degree and you made money with it.
Well, I didn't say. Yeah, we didn't make a lot of money.
But you made money.
Yeah, I've made a living. Yeah,
Nice.
I didn't set out to do it. You usually don't set out to do philosophy or religion or even, you didn't used to set out to do politics, as a means to an end to making money. But yeah, so there's a bigger reward, a spiritual reward than just money. But that is an issue. Philosophers should be paid a little bit more, probably better than they are. So
historically, philosophers have not been very well received.
No.
So, yeah.
It's kind of hard to imagine it. If you start at the beginning of time, you just imagine people standing there like hunter-gatherers, early farmers. No one recorded anything. So it really wasn't until the Greeks, around 3000 BC when they started recording, although we know the Sumerians and other people did it even earlier.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as trying to understand, examining what we do day to day, stepping outside of our activities and, reflecting on they're the first people to do it. So that's been going on, about 3,000 years. Sounds like a long time, really, when you hear it back.
It sounds like it, but it's really not.
No, it isn't,
Yeah. And besides which, I have the theory that we've actually been a lot more advanced way back before. And
yeah. I mean, there's all kinds of signs that point to it,
Mm-hmm.
No doubt about it. It's just like the paranormal and some of the other things y'all been doing, it's there. People just in the day-to-day life don't touch it because they don't have time, or they're on the job, or they don't think of it. But all these things are out there in the cosmos, continuously happening, so time is it's amazing how many societies have been lost. I mean, people lived through the ice age, we have proof.
Mm-hmm.
So but I think that's the biggest thing. If you're going to ask me what I do, Trace, I'd say that, a philosopher, the word itself just breaks down to philo and sophos. It just means a friend of wisdom. So the idea of being a philosopher really is just to try to know all you can and use it in the world as much as possible, obviously. And the only way to do that, though, is to really read. You have to want to read to do. And, just like with law or medicine, you have to do a lot of reading.
And critical reading, critical thinking.
Yes, you do, because obviously to get a degree, you have to go in and analyze all sorts of things that others have said, which would come in handy today. It's a lot to critique. Plenty of things to look at. But so the goal becomes that we don't own wisdom; we all share it. And then the highest good throughout the years of philosophy, other than using your mind to its highest degree. Plato would say the unexamined life is not worth living, and therefore, there's no use to live if you're not thinking about living. And Aristotle would amend that and say, rationality is what sets us apart, and we're stewards of nature as human animals, and we're supposed to be virtuous towards the planet and each other, and with benevolence and goodness. That's the initial mission.
supposed to be versus what we do.
I'm sorry, Trish. What'd you?
I'm sorry. I said supposed to be virtuous and
supposed to be, right?
Yeah, but
and, that's personal too. It's you still got Aleister Crowley and people that in the mix that are totally off the scale, compared to what we might call normal or not, whatever normal is, passes for it.
Well, normal's just a setting on a dryer.
Right. I've never heard that one, but that's pretty good, actually.
Thanks.
Yeah, that's about right. Everybody has their own vision, but we all try to agree that, if somebody drops something, we try to help them pick it up. If somebody falls down, we try to help them up, these things. But now, it's like the way things are going now with media, it's hard to tell what really happens, this from reality, from illusion, from fiction.
Yeah. Especially with the technology getting to the point where they can take, like, somebody who was nefariously bent could take this video, for instance, and alter it to make me say all kinds of awful things.
Oh yeah, I mean,
it would be believable because the technology is to such an extent.
Yeah,
which is terrifying.
Now it's like, I think people too, with all the censorship and things we see, people understand that, critical thinking, you said it a minute ago, you got to read with it, you got to write with it, you got to think with it. Mm-hmm. And I mean, it's no fun to overanalyze everything. That, I'd never want to approach romance or something that way. It could be miserable. But, the idea is we do need to think critically more and towards our own lives. I mean, philosophy teaches us the self is most important. And without the self, we can't do anything to help anyone. So without self, we're no good to anyone, including ourselves. Mm-hmm. So we have to exalt ourselves first, which in our world, we sort of get pulled into a group, by technology. And, this thing about people wanting to be seen or something on technology or Twitter and the reels on Instagram and this, it's loss of self to a degree. And it's also just a sign that people are not seeing outside of it. Whereas in Gatlinburg, here in Ohio, where I live, it's easily for me to be in the woods in the middle of nowhere, just like you. And, I think that brings you back to reality. The world looks horrible if I watch the news tonight, but if I go outside, things look pretty normal around here. It's pretty quiet, not much happening. So I guess it's how you perceive it too,
Well, there's also the issue of empathy. And now with how connected we all are, it's
because it's
so
hard
much easier
feel. I mean, I just saw one of my frat brothers was in the hospital with pneumonia, COVID-related pneumonia tonight. One of my other friends went to VA from high school. This guy, just today. So, it's hard not to get involved. But the negative side, the inundation part, I guess, is what I'm thinking of with the media, continuous inundation of people and how that makes people feel. That's rough. It's hard on folks, to hear it day after day. And
that's why a lot
propaganda.
of we've been friends on Facebook for what, like 2 weeks?
Oh yeah, enough to watch for me to see you're very busy.
Stay busy
in a good way, but I get it. Not that I was really paying attention, but every time I looked up, you were doing something. So
this morning I actually did the load in for Drive-By Truckers at the Bijou Theater.
That's what I thought you said. You're at the theater, so I didn't know.
That was fun. I'm missing the load out because
I got to get back in the loop. I haven't seen the hike. I was going to review it at one point. I got busy and crazy, and I had to go through a bunch of stuff. So I
haven't seen it yet.
No. See, and I'm not privy to all the networks and stuff. So
that's terrible.
What's it on?
That's a cardinal sin.
Can I see it on Ask? Why Vinny would like you? You don't even know that, you knucklehead.
Yeah,
come on, man.
That's a cardinal sin in the Church of Fun.
I know. I bet I could pull up 100 of their old bits though. Vinny and Luke, and let alone Luke on camera. So I mean, I bet I could remember some things nobody would remember. Almost nobody would.
Yeah, they mention skits that they've done, and I'm like,
oh my God, I know you don't have time, Tracy, but some of the, I mean, it's not the best stuff you're doing now. In my mind, their early stuff when they were just doing it, being them, wrestling, and talk about music and being in law enforcement and this, and and then just being the characters is just, I knew right away they had a good gift, had a gift. It's easy to see, and there's a lot of philosophy in what y'all do. Everybody is a philosopher. They just may not be classically trained,
I agree.
So,
I very much agree.
And nowadays, you got to be a philosopher.
I read philosophy for fun.
Right. Sure. I mean, I still do.
And lots of self-help. And
yeah,
all about religion.
And philosophy kind of go together, right? I mean,
yes, it does very much. I mean, it's like two sides of the same coin: self-help and philosophy.
Yep, that's right. And religion too. You go to the bookstore. Well, I used to go to the bookstore. They'd all be right there.
Yep.
Because it's true. It's spirituality, really, right? We're back to philosophy. I mean, that's the key. I say self-protect. That sounds nebulous or vague, but the truth is, it's spirit, it's soul. It's the part that's immortal now that survives this death. This life. And I know that sounds crazy, but yeah. And since you're all chasing ghosts and all periodically. It makes complete sense. Really.
I've not gotten to go on a ghost hunt yet.
Well, you know what? I haven't been with them guys, although visually I have a number of times, and I got to admit, it was pretty good.
I take that back. I went to Brushy Mountain.
Yeah, okay. No, but that's a big win. That was.
I saw nothing.
All that.
I felt nothing. There was it's like I'm a dampener.
That's a big place to go, though. That's like here in Ohio. Did you guys go to Mansfield here? I think they went to Mansfield, maybe here in Ohio. It's a big one, notorious. But yeah, I mean, I find I have those experiences here. Sometimes with other people, oftentimes alone. But there seems to be a lot of activity here or in cemeteries, around cemeteries in Ohio. Kind of strange.
What is it with Ohio?
I don't know. It's just all too haunted Ohio. If you look at it, there's regular haunting stories, but overall, there's just a lot of stuff in cornfields and just it's the terrain, middle of nowhere, things going on. But
it's the aliens.
Yeah, but it's you got to stay open minded. You got to stay open minded. You never know what you're going to see. But now I guess so. That's it. Spiritually, you link yourself then philosophically, and you try to read everybody else's ideas and make up your own. So that's what a philosopher does in the real world. And then on making money, you got to be inventive if you want to do philosophy for a living. You got to be creative. Of course, any job you need to, this. You're very creative to do the work you're doing. So, but yeah, so you got to be able, and it's like doing history or anything like that. You're not going to make money at it. You're only going to be rewarded by what you put in.
Yep. So, yeah. I agree. So, leading from that, have you heard anything about the CE5?
No.
No? Okay, so there's this documentary about Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind.
Right.
Yeah. And I don't remember what the documentary is called, which is terrible, but I think it's on Amazon.
Right.
But it's neat as all get out. Apparently, people, there's a handbook that you can download for free. You just Google CE5. And
I'll have to look it up.
It's so wild. It'd be right up your alley, I think. It's pretty much like just a group of people get together and essentially sing Kumbaya and have positive thoughts and stuff.
Right. Now,
and
I don't know if I need a
sky.
session on Michael Rose or not. No, but when you said that, I was thinking about the Phoenix Lights and some of the stuff we've seen in the last. I lived out there just before the Phoenix Lights occurred. And in Chandler and Ahwatukee. And, stuff like that was happening in the desert all the time. I know that's hard to believe, but there always was things going on out there. And, I've had so many people I know. I've even seen so many famous people who've seen these things. And now there's video, so you can judge for yourself what you think it is.
I've been trying to talk Vinny into doing a wrestling with aliens. And we'll do the CE5. Sorry, I said that while you were drinking. I'm so sorry.
That's all I need is water to come out my nose. No, that's perfect.
It makes for great TV.
Trust me. The first thing that came to my mind when you said that is he'll do it. If there's a way, he'll probably try.
Well,
Yeah.
apparently it was like too much effort would be involved
Oh yeah.
in getting everybody together and singing Kumbaya and having like positive thoughts.
Vibes. Got to get vibes.
Got to be
But, you know,
super good
too,
vibes.
there's something to be said for, you got to take somebody with you, so you got a witness. But you know, you can't. For me, it's like I could go out and look for ghosts all day long and not see nothing. And I could go at the right time somewhere and nobody be around. Or there it is, and those times are sort of like, what? How do you? And you know, and then you're like, well, I know, and nobody else is ever
I
seen
can't
that.
prove it.
Right.
Yeah, I feel that. I feel that.
And I think enough of us have seen it. And I think, too, a part of that's just the feelings of people left behind. You know, you go to a place like Gettysburg, all those people died there.
Yeah.
You know, there's going to be a lot of vibes. Talk about vibes. You know, there's going to be a lot of, and of course, they say, you know, Gettysburg's haunted from 37 directions, you know.
Sure.
One of the most.
I'd love to go to Culloden and see if I could feel anything there.
Yeah.
I think that maybe in an older place that's been inhabited for longer,
right,
maybe then I'd be able to sense something.
Well, you know, you
so
go
far,
to Peru, down to Peru to the Nazca lines.
Oh, yes.
And those lines were constructed probably around 400 AD, maybe before, up to 1,000 years by other natives in that area. But here in Ohio, we got a place called Serpent Mound, and it was initially constructed around 0. You know,
I've heard about that.
Yeah. So these places that, like you're talking about, those cultures that, you know, it's here, right here in the United States too. You know, you don't have to go to Peru or Egypt.
Mm-hmm.
That's the pinnacle, obviously, the pyramids and Giza, you know, that, etc. That's huge pinnacle. But for, you know, for the world, but you know, there are things here in America that are just as old, you know, so older. Yes. It's harder to gauge it too, because our Indians were woodland. They were woodland Indians, so there's not a lot they left behind. You know,
they didn't build with rocks.
Right.
They were more environmentally friendly.
We do see rock structures, but boy, it's nothing like Machu Picchu or some major. You know how that is. It blows your mind how big it is. You know,
I've not seen it in real life.
Oh, me neither. Just pictures. Yeah, I've been all over the U.S., Mexico, Canada, to a great deal, but not the world. No, I mean, I go around in my head every day, but you know, I haven't traveled a lot outside of the U.S. in that way. So.
I've never had a passport. That's one of my bucket list things.
I was able to go to Canada, Mexico before you needed them, so I can only imagine now the red tape would be.
Yeah.
I mean, the last time I flew was even before COVID, and it was unbelievable then, just going through the loading and the unloading. And
I flew, I was like 19, I think, flew right after 9/11.
Right.
And my stupid, I was going for a modeling gig down in Texas. And that was a disaster because they asked me to dance in 4-inch heels. Like, they taught me the dance routine that morning, and they did like 10 minutes of rehearsal for this dance routine, and I am like a baby albatross.
Right.
You put me in heels that are above a certain height, and I'm like, it's terrible. Right. So I was all over that stage. It was so bad, but that doesn't have anything to do with the story. I got on the plane. And my 19-year-old, very naive, very like, I've never been anywhere self. I announced to the whole plane, if anyone's intending to hijack this plane, just know that I will attack you like a rabid badger. And nobody wanted to make eye contact with me the whole rest of the flight, which was kind of nice, but also like, oops.
Yeah, I mean, you're only 19. We're going to give you a huge break too. But, you know, I mean, it's like, for me, the whole thing, 4 ounces of shampoo, these things just seem so, I was like, I'll just get it when I get there. I take what I'll take a bag, I'll have and then I'll just go to Walgreens or whatever when I land, you know.
I'll find
it's not that big a deal. Mm-hmm. Usually, plus, because of the weather change in the winter, I need to get cough drops. Anyway. Mm-hmm. So, because the last time I went was Naples. It was like January. couple years ago, and I left. It was like literally like 30 degrees below zero.
Ooh.
And I landed in Fort Myers hours later at like 11 o'clock. It was 72.
Gracious.
And I, for a day, I thought I couldn't breathe, just because the weather.
The shock. Yeah.
But yeah, I can't imagine heels. I'll just leave it at that. I mean, they're nice to look at on the right golden stems and all, but I can't imagine trying to wear those. So
it's a
philosophically, it seems like a failure for your arches and your legs.
Well, you know that they were originally designed for men.
Yeah, because it makes your rear end stick out about 4 to 5 inches or so. They say, that's the whole plan. The French, right?
Yeah.
The best thing they did for us was the bikini, though. That was peace, right? You gotta have that. But yeah, I remember the woman they got to pose. Her name was Michelle. Oh my God, it was like Bostay. I can't remember off the top of my head. I got a piece up on YouTube. I do videos under World One, Professor James Perry, and I did one on the first bikinis, and then Greeks had bikinis back in the day, 2,000 years ago. Believe it or not, the women had bikinis, mostly for athletic competition, but they existed. So there's a whole history.
Let the women compete.
I'm sorry.
I thought they didn't let the women compete in athletics.
No, the women competed in the Olympics.
What?
Yeah, against each other. But
that's completely different than what they taught me in high school.
Competing back, 2,500 years ago, they had some kind of like rationality about their abilities or something. But anyway, you got to at least try to laugh. But yeah, so the point became they couldn't get a person to wear the bikini, so they get the stripper. So she would put the bikini on. It turned out that another guy had actually invented one right almost within a day of them. He was later, though, so they were technically first, these brothers. And they actually invented it out of materials left over from war surplus. There was no material, so that's why it was actually so small, they say. And the statement was, a real bikini should pass through the wedding band. That was part of their whole, they had this whole thing thought out. So
that would be a
leave it to the French
bikini.
And see, you should have never mentioned heels, because that's what it led to.
Gracious.
Gracious. Interesting, though,
Wow. No, I'm just trying to figure out how much fabric would be included in a bikini that could pass through a wedding band.
I know. I mean, it's so I hear women have told me over the years they've heard this statement. So a true bikini can. So I guess like it can't have any bead work or
or coverage of butt.
Has to be pure string. I guess I'd say string.
It'd be like pasties and a thong.
I don't know.
I look pretty good, but I would not wear that.
Right.
Yeah, no.
It's not going to be very effective in the water either.
No. Lots of wardrobe.
Back to your one-piece Speedo,
So Brandon Bishop is very upset, apparently.
I see that.
There's no big or funky.
Yeah, it's me. It's us.
Yeah, Brandon. Luke had to, he said he had to run to Walmart. It's the most Tennessee excuse ever.
Wow.
And Vinny had like other stuff to do. I think he's working. He's got a lame-o job now, which is very tragic.
Other than he's not driving?
I don't think so, no.
Okay.
But
I hate a lame-o job.
9 to 5.
He ain't the biscuit maker at McDonald's, is he?
I have no idea. He said it might be something embarrassing.
He
For
did
all we know, he's
Juggalo. Where he calls into McDonald's sick.
Gigolo. He probably
being a biscuit maker. It was hilarious. It was one of the bits he did years ago. I told you I remember all of them.
Yes, you did. He posted a picture from a photo shoot he called Pure Sex. So maybe he's selling his body. I have no idea. And he fussed at me for starting an OnlyFans. He was like, why?
Yeah.
I'm trying to do a pay-per-view podcast.
Yeah.
But I don't know how to do video editing yet.
Well, yeah, you can figure it out, though. It's not like rocket science.
When I get like 5 minutes to myself, I might be able to.
Excuse me. Yeah, I mean, that's a problem, you know, for everybody. I get it.
when I'm not busy reading self-help books and philosophy and
busy reading Kierkegaard and Wittgenstein.
I don't know who those are.
Oh, if you're going to read philosophy, I told you Plato, the Greeks, Aristotle and Plato. And then, there's a movement I specialize in called existentialism. And that deals with philosophers from around the world, even America, but especially France, a lot of philosophers, Germany and France, Hungary, Denmark. Let's see, Soren Kierkegaard in 1820, Denmark. He's known as the father of existentialism. And he was one of the first ones to say, why am I in pain? I mean, we all want goodness. He was a Lutheran minister too. So it's interesting. Kierkegaard might be one of the best examples of a man who struggled with truth and the knowledge of God, because he was a real believer in God. But he said that things like that weren't popular at the time, that we didn't understand religious texts. So Kierkegaard questioned all the religious texts, say there's really no proof of God. We have to believe it. We have to have faith. There's no way to prove it. And all these things that were radical. But then when he died, Denmark, he's like, oh, he was the greatest writer ever. But, he didn't see any of that.
No.
And he died at 38, heartbroken. He had a woman, you'll find this interesting. He had a girlfriend named Regina Olsen. And they had been friends since childhood, played music together. And then there was a period about a year or two where she was waiting on him to make a decision. And man, he's into this whole thing of, I can't serve two masters, woman and God. And he's all deep on this, because his whole life has been spent trying to help people get through pain with some sort of mental seeing of self. And so he denies her finally. She goes off, gets married, has 3 kids. He dies heartbroken. It's a sad, but I love the guy. He did go on, though, after that, before he died, and he wrote a set. You would love this. It's about 2 volumes. I think it's about 1,100 pages total. You won't have to read it all, but it's called Either Or from Kierkegaard. I'll send it to you after we get off here.
Okay, cool. So, thanks.
I read it on the beach in Florida back in the 90s. What a place, So, but yeah, it's very interesting. He has all these art, letters between them, and then all this made up, romanticized. I was like, my God, you should have just ran off with her and got it over with. It's sad in that sense, but one of the greatest philosophers of all time, Soren Kierkegaard, So.
I wonder what he would have figured out about life.
Well, that's it. And children and love. And, he didn't, sex. He never, he never had
sex.
Well, there were things that made me wonder about that, though. With them. I mean, it's possible because, I'll send you a picture of her and him both. You see a picture of her, you're going to go like, dude, what the hell is wrong with you, Kierkegaard? I mean, she's very attractive, and I imagine she was up and coming kind of woman, though, modern for the time. So, maybe a little too much for him, I guess. And then the other one that really sticks out would be Frederick Nietzsche. And
I've heard of him.
But you've heard of him. He's the one who says, do go out into life and be your full self, do everything you can, be everything you can be. He was way before the U.S. Army said it. Be all you can be, but live to your full potential. He called
check off everything on the bucket list.
Well, what you're doing, except you're tired at times, probably like the rest.
Well, I've done a lot of things that have not fed my soul.
Right. Well, you're given too. Remember, when you're given, you're not. You're not getting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Funny thing was it Tesla, Nikola Tesla. Energy, frequency, and vibration. Mm-hmm. That's how we should think. And with energy, if you're not using it yourself, you're losing it.
Yes.
So, you got to be careful, I guess. And that's hard to gauge. Because you don't put your all in everything, right back to philosophy or anything else.
Everything loops back to philosophy if you talk about it for long enough.
Yeah, it does. It does. Medicine, and philosophy's first. Psychology's only been around 100 years.
So has education.
Right.
Like standardized state education. And
Yeah,
it's
so
only
philosophy's still seen in academic circles as the god, but that's why they don't want to pay us, because they know we're smarter than them, and they know if they don't pay us much, we can only do so much damage. Now, I'm being totally facetious here, but I had to say something. I mean, it makes me wonder though why it is like it is, because some of the smartest people I know have huge advanced degrees, multiple degrees, and just can't seem to work the system, to do what they want,
It's not really set up for advancing of the species.
Right. And it'll come to that probably, Trey.
Oh.
It's gonna come to that. It'll be just more than just growing beans and corn.
I think the internet is speeding that up though.
Yeah. If it could help us heal a lot of woes too. The internet does help, right? You can't, and in philosophy, I teach a class called The Challenge of Technology. We're just for 15 weeks, we hammer what's wrong and like what's right. And it's easy to get caught up in just negative. I mean, it's still good to be able to get an antibiotic for a sore throat and to have communication, to be able to do this, to talk. And, but you got to keep it in perspective. But the problem is the negative, it often harms us and or kills us. So that's why we need to look at that critically, and try to pay attention to what we're doing as we do it and not make mistakes that could be thought through before we engage in them,
I completely agree.
I was having a lot of fun there. Suddenly that sounded serious.
You're fine. It's okay.
No, but I mean, and the world is bleeding. Oh yeah, I got one here. Named Opal. She's running around. That was a cute animal.
I've got Fred and George.
I like it. Which one was that?
That was Fred. Frederico Tuxedo Tisdale III.
Can't believe them though. They still, cats. They always, when they want you, boy, you better pay attention.
Yeah, he will jump up on my desk and stomp all over.
You want them, and they don't want to come around. Forget it.
Right?
They will.
You call them by their name, and they're like, no.
Right. Not now.
Yeah.
But
I heard that people who like dogs better than cats, they're more authoritarian.
Right.
People who like cats better are typically more laid back.
That's so weird though. But I worked for a veterinarian from when I was like 12 till I was 18, in high school. So I love animals. I see no difference for those two animals and me. But I imagine for people, there are types, because I just take it as the animal. It's sort of like meeting women. You kind of take work with what you got. Right. No, but dogs authoritarian. I don't know. I do always find it interesting though, how they say like people start to look like their pets or people look like their pet, and you see those photos, it's kind of comical. It's like, wow, what's the underlying,
I'd be pretty upset if I grew a mustache like Fred.
Yeah, if I see you next time and you're black and white,
right?
I'd be worried. Yeah, black and white spots, Right. But it's fascinating. It's another spiritual animal in our world. I mean, what did Aristotle said? We're stewards of nature. We're the animal's animal. I mean, the plants, the rocks, that's our job. So I don't know. I hope the people are paying attention, what we're doing. Probably eventually just throw this out there, might have to go nuclear power here one of these days, because we're probably going to run out of coal in the next 50, 60 years,
We should just be on solar.
Well,
wind and,
if they'd have put the effort in solar instead of going off the board on electric cars and all this other crazy crap that they've done. Because my old man worked for the GM on the EV1 and 2, the initial electric cars. And it was very real then, but good God, them get the cadmium and the nickel to make the batteries. And, so you want real progress that's reality based.
Did you know that there was a car that was designed to run on water, like just regular water?
This. Yep, I've seen this, but it's been a minute.
And then the oil companies just straight up took it and
right. That's right. Yeah.
But it was super simple. You just apply an electrical current to the water and it breaks the hydrogen off, and then you burn the hydrogen.
Yeah.
Like, why are we not doing that?
Yeah, there's a lot of things we could do that we're not doing. I mean, I don't know. It seems like in our country, we ran to this or that, like the windmills, and that's a good idea because, I mean, one windmill can power like 840 houses 24/7 if it's cranking. But
Yeah.
no one ever figured out how to spool the energy off the windmill onto a power grid or to store that energy. So it's only live energy off the windmill as long as it's cranking. And there's no way to store the extra if there is any. So, that's like a big link missing in the linchpin of figuring this out,
I'm absolutely certain that somebody can figure that out.
That
seems
I'll be honest,
extremely
as a
simple to
philosopher,
me.
and this is not my field, thinking
Yeah.
is, but I can't believe somebody doesn't know how. And like you said, maybe it's covered up or hidden because of, they said Tesla discovered cell phones in the early 1900s, and the government was like, well, we can't make telephone free. Well, we can make money off that.
We can't make electricity free because we're charging people
Ford
for
and
it.
Edison and Harvey Firestone making that's what they were thinking.
Yeah.
Money. So
more worried about money than the advancement of the species. And
right.
Whereas I love money. Money's great.
Yeah,
I like having
driving in my Model T down to the hamburger joint. But trouble is nobody can afford it hardly. But yeah, I do. I mean, money it's a necessary evil. It's nice to have a hot tub's nice. I mean,
yeah.
But to make it the heart and soul of being, come on.
Yeah.
Right. Obviously, they've never experienced love.
People's values should not be gauged by how much money they have in the bank.
No. Materialism, but too, is another one that kills me.
It's sad.
It's, then the people you see with it's cool. I'm cool, if you like, you got the nicest fishing reel on the block. I'm fine with that. But it's like, then they got to tell you about it all the time. I'm like, what?
If I had the nicest fishing reel on the whole block, I'd be like, dude, I got this on sale.
You know what I told him? I said, shut up and hand that to me. I want to use it for a while.
Right? Like, check this out. It's so cool. I got to buy one, get one.
There's that side of it, but you know what I mean? It's Jesus. You could have a Zebco 33 and catch the biggest fish. It doesn't.
I don't know what that is.
Well, it's just a cheap little plastic reel. It's the original kid reel.
Okay.
You can't mess it up. It's that little black one with the screw top. And if you don't do fishing, that's what I'd start you out with. But
okay,
perfect. I started out with one. It works great.
I've been fishing like twice in my life. So.
Oh hell, you can do it. It's easy. You got a son, right, or a daughter?
I've got actually 3 children.
So
I've got a 17-year-old, an 11-year-old, and an 8-year-old.
I was going to say, because it seems to me it's not boys or girls. They all love fishing. I know I did as a kid. You couldn't keep me away from the water. I digress, though.
Okay.
Did you want to say something else important or ask a question?
Well, actually, I was having a conversation with my pastor.
Yes.
The other day, and we do this pray and study thing. I think no, it was a Thomas Talks. Doubting Thomas. So
Doubting Thomas. Yeah, I know about Thomas.
So we were talking about how it seems like sometimes that heaven and hell and where we're at are all in the same place.
Right.
And it's all just a matter of your perspective.
Right.
What is your take on that, given how much education in philosophy and religion and all that you have?
As a kid, I used to always say that Earth was hell. It just hadn't dissolved all the way. And now as I get older, I wonder, I say as a kid, I'm talking teens, 18. Yes. But I mean, I fused creationism and Darwinism when I was a freshman in high school. And when they came out about 20 years ago, I went to a reunion and my biology teacher, Mr. House, was like, man, they call that intelligent design. And you wrote that paper 30 years before them. And so, you got to recognize the greatness. Now, there's one thing I got to say about Doubting Thomas, and I'll come back to that.
Okay.
But there's a thing called the Libraries of Nog Hamdi. It's in Africa. They found these texts in 1946 buried in the desert in Egypt. It's known as the Nog Hamdi. Boy, I got to make a list to send you.
Please.
Yeah, the Nog Hamdi Library. And in this library, it was like this giant 6-foot vase. I should do it so you can see here, 6-foot vase, and all these texts, including a copy of Plato's Republic that looked fairly original.
Oh, man.
Writings from Gnostics, pagans,
Nice.
Philip and Doubting Thomas, Saint Thomas. And there's whole lines to this that trace to texts from Mary Magdalene that they're trying to prove now. But the point is, Jesus Christ was a Gnostic too, to a point. And Christianity blocked it. The church, the Vatican, and the Church of England.
Yeah.
They didn't want you having pagan ways because they believed in pleasure. And if they wanted to have sex with you, they did. And there was no real rules for them. So you got to look back. I don't want to skew here.
No,
but
you're
see
fine.
about this time and the earth going back. Thomas, what he says is the whole time, if you know the Bible well, and of course your pastor knows this like the back of his hand, Thomas is asking Christ, prove you're the Son of God. Show us you're the Son of God. Make us believe all, continuously doing this. And Christ is like telling him, time and again, you're seeing miracles every day. You see these miracles, Thomas. I don't know why you won't. And sometimes I feel like Thomas may have been his favorite disciple because he wanted literal. But the point became that Thomas's work bridges a gap between the Gnostics that were extincted by the church. And that would include everybody like the Druids and Stonehenge. Worldwide, you got to look at all the pagans, and like what was it in 1600? The Church of England went into Scotland, and Braveheart, William Wallace stood up.
Yeah.
And in 1700, they went into Ireland, and it was Rob Roy who stood up. Well, right after that, they came to the United States, and it was Tecumseh and the Native Americans who stood up. So this is like a church thing where they want to blank out people's heritage in the name of, well, they were heathens. But truth is, Gnostic people would have helped you if you broke a bone or something near their village. They'd have nursed you back to health. I mean, their daughter or son might have tried to have sex with you, and if you didn't care, it would have worked. But no, I'm serious. They were that open, though. They would, that's just how they were.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like a taboo for them, which the Christians, wannabe Christians at this time, they thought that was just horrible to have sex because you want to, or where people might see you or something. So
why else did God make it fun?
Well, back to Adam and Eve. I mean, look what happened there. They had sex in plain sight. One kid tries to kill the other.
But then who did those boys marry?
Yeah, I mean, it went on. They got married and begatting. So yeah, there's murders in the family. Correct.
I was asking about that in like first grade in Sunday school. I was like, wait. Did they make babies with their mom? Like, I'm really confused.
God,
And the Sunday school teacher told me to be quiet.
Yeah, you got to read Greek tragedy to get the most out of that. Oedipus and all that crap.
Right.
I love Greek tragedy, though. There's some really good stories there. But yeah, I mean, it is weird. It's hard to, and it's like Eve ate the avocado, and that's the original sin, or was it an apple?
I thought it was a pomegranate.
Right, you're right. I mean, so women are to blame. I'm not buying it, So, I mean, there's something there but I always thought, too, on that thing about Earth and now that, there's a fair argument that, the Godhead, for whatever it is, as alien as it may be, although it seems to be male and female at the same time. It's kind of, I don't know. It's like a male-female committee of one or something. I mean, because it seems to work really well for men and women in different circumstances. So I just sort of see God is like male and female. And I mean, we all are, though, right? I mean, when we first come into existence, we could be male or female, like as a zygote stage or somewhere when we're first, forming.
Yeah.
We could go either way,
Yeah.
And they always say you need to know your male side, you need to know your female side, So.
If you go back far enough, we're all just assholes.
It's got to come from somewhere.
Yeah,
Right.
that's like what we formed from, and like originally, as we're being like knit together in our mother's uterus, we
Yeah.
start out as just an asshole.
Yeah, I was seeing one the other day. This is on the subject, off of it slightly, but interesting, where they're comparing this couple, British couple, and they're not together. They're just two scientists. They're comparing our brain to a mushroom, and I'm telling you, a fungus. And if you
Okay.
see, here's another. Now I may have to dig to find this one, but it's out there still. Yeah, it's interesting. You got to keep an open mind here, but they state a lot of facts about mushrooms in the brain. The similarities, it's kind of wild.
That is
So
wild.
looking at the world through a fungus eyes, it's probably about an hour long. It's sort of like, wow, when it was over, I was like, I think I need some green tea. Jesus. So I didn't know what to think. Two, they fuel each other. You know how it is.
Yeah.
Two believers. So it gets a little overwrought, I thought, but maybe not. It's possible. It's possible. Anything is.
Gracious.
But that's the biggest thing in philosophy we teach is it's good to know, what you think God is or isn't, or there isn't one or there is one. That's good. But the idea is you got to accept the other people's view.
I feel like
that's something that's not happening to in our world right now on a lot of levels, not just God, but life.
All the different religions, it's just different paths up the same mountain.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's not hard to see, the Torah, the Quran, the Holy Bible, they're all seeking this entity,
enlightenment and decency and
enlightenment, higher spiritual plane
mm-hmm.
of being. But that's easy to say and hard to do.
Yeah.
Like if you're an emergency room physician, excuse me, it's crazy in there. So, you're going to have to section out time to meditate.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, or whatever that amounts to for you. Probably fix the screen door or something at home. But, it's a crazy world. So you have to make space.
Yes.
Yourself.
And that's very difficult to do in the society and the system that we have set up right now. And it's almost like stopping and thinking about existence and, all those big questions and big ideas is actually kind of discouraged. Which
I mean, it's almost like, get a career in welding or go to school, go to college. You know what I mean? Get it over with. Hurry up. But it's maybe it's not even discouraged. It's not encouraged.
Definitely not.
I mean, it's seen as, when I was a kid, now I'm getting older now. I'm still not old, but I mean, I remember the older guys when I was young. I mean, sitting around on Saturday or Sunday at the tobacco warehouse or a store in town or whatever. That's where the smartest people of the town came. So when I would go in there with my dad or my grandfather or my uncles, I was just like a fly on the wall. I would hear everything. So it was like, wow, what an education. And now kids, it seems like my students, because they come to me now, they're as young as 15 up. And that's been away a while. If you're good, you can get in. I can sign you in, but you got to be good. Now, the point is, though, they can write, and some of them are good writers, but their socialization skills are they couldn't do what you and I are doing right here, Tracy. Some can, a lot of them can talk, but anybody can make a video.
Yeah.
Not everybody can write.
True.
And writing is what separates philosophers from the world. Being able to write and say these things and make it matter, because anybody can speak. We see it on YouTube all the time. But to do it with this art that you're doing it, no. So overall, it has to be learned. Well, their social skills have been ask Alexa, ask Siri.
Yeah.
It's not even type the question in or ask the question to Google or Dogpile or whoever you're using. So they're lacking the ability to do the research. They don't interact with people. And then, so what I see out of kids is they're like apathetic. They don't know what to care. They don't know, So that's what we got to fight. You got to give them something to be excited about, something to enjoy. And that's hard to find right now. You're not going to get it making $10 an hour at McDonald's or whatever.
Definitely not. That's not the way to enlightenment or fulfillment in a life.
But you got to work.
Well, I mean, it could be for some.
I get it. You know, you can't just go to the top. I get it. But man, you got to set your sights on something way higher than that.
Right.
Because I see too many. The biggest mistakes I see is stopping school when you're doing good.
Oh, I was doing terrible. I quit high school
that's a reason.
as soon as I turned 18.
Well,
I had 4 credits.
When I was 18, I stopped once. I only went one semester and said, I'm going to work for a while.
I got my GED, and the lady who administered the test, when she gave me my score, she was like, if I hadn't sat there and watched you take this test, I would have sworn you were cheating. Because my score was so high. And I was like, dude, I didn't quit because I was stupid. I quit because I was bored.
Right. If you're not being challenged or it's not something you want to do, why are you going to? Yeah.
The only class that I even enjoyed was chorus.
Yeah. At that point, it's like, why am I going? For me, I went and left Ohio and lived in New Orleans, like 5 blocks off Bourbon Street for 2 years. So I was working construction in New Orleans.
I spent a weekend in
a 1,000-room hotel, and I lived there too. So it was crazy. I'm glad I did it though. It changed my taste buds. I still love New Orleans. How do you not? You know,
right? I mean, you go to New Orleans once, and you're like, I love that place.
Yeah, and I mean, living there for 2 years and getting to know it, like the back alley. Oof. You know, some of those places are still there. A lot of them are. You know, I mean, those are the best places in town. You know, the ones nobody knows about.
I loved there was that church that was right off that square, and they had all
Jackson Square.
Yeah, I don't remember that.
Yeah,
I have ADHD and trauma real bad, so my memory for names and it is bad.
Right.
So, but it was a beautiful church, and it was really old. And I walked in there, I was like, oh, it's so pretty. I love old buildings.
Churches
old
do that to you, though. It's insane. And they're so, I mean, it's beautiful, but it's majestic. And the work. Oh, my God, the work. Like I see these churches around, you know, with the Tiffany glass, you know, the stained glass where it's layered. You know, those windows are like, you know, $100,000 a window. And, you know, it's unbelievable the effort they put in that.
You know, the stained glass windows that are in the churches overseas, like in Europe and stuff, they don't even have the technology to make that anymore. They can't even like the rose window. As Notre Dame was burning, I was so scared. Because they can't remake that.
No.
And I was freaking out, but thankfully.
Well, and you know, that's another problem of lost technology. And you know, the Lighthouse Lens is known as the Fresnel lens. And through the 70s and 80s, lighthouses were left or automated, and people vandalized and broke all the lighthouse lenses. This lens was made by a guy named Fresnel around 1820. He invented this process. The lens allows you to put a light on a height of 51 feet and shine a light 60 miles out to sea. It was a lighthouse lens. They were made worldwide. I could take you to lighthouses in Michigan, all over the place where they're still there. They lost the recipe. When all those lighthouses were vandalized, so about 20 years ago, Owens Corning and Libby Glass got together and said, we're going to try to reproduce the Fresnel lens once and for all. Shit, they ended up making 2 lenses and gluing it together. They couldn't even figure it out. And they're the best technology. So this and the windows at Notre Dame, right? This is the biggest challenge of technology, when you lose data and information that was crucial to show a method like making those windows or inventing that lighthouse lens, which is pragmatic, functional, ergonomic, and still necessary as a navigational device. So, and we lost the recipe. So you see this through humanity all the time, and it's the hardest. It's the hardest, saddest part. It's the hardest part.
Maybe eventually we'll figure out a time machine and we can like go back
and fix everything.
Yes.
Well, it's like the Titanic.
Library of Alexandria.
Oh, you know, and there's a whole thing that was arson. I still believe that was probably arson. And I think that that's why that Nog Hamdi Library I told you about exists, because the people, the Romans and people, the Greeks, wanted to destroy holy text or good text, if you will, that they found anything against their structure. And that's why they buried the stuff instead of burning it. Mm-hmm. But you could argue the wood fire and all that material on scrolls was an accident. But in that fire at the libraries, as you know, everything was, I mean, there's data there lost from the beginning of time. Yeah. Everything was in that library. So if somebody wanted to burn it down, could have been done.
Yeah, this is true.
But that's like I was going to say at the Titanic. Today's circumstances, we prevent things that happen, that cause the Titanic to sink. So we try, Mm-hmm. But that's weird. You mentioned Alexandria, because you get somebody nefarious working behind the scenes, destroy every bit of information gathered up to now in one fire.
Yeah.
That's pretty dastardly.
I think it was like 4th or 5th grade. I learned about the Library of Alexandria. I cried for a week.
Well, it's just unbelievable. See, Socrates, the first Greek, he didn't really write. He spoke. He went there and was there for like 7 years, 8 years. And so he read about monotheism, one God, that there is really one Godhead, like we were saying, it has a male, female side, it seems, etc. So when he brought that back and started sharing in Plato and, the older philosophers, Protagoras and the ones, Aristotle, of course, they believe in one God. Well, the Greeks believed in 15 gods and goddesses, as well as like 7 others. It's like 23 total, 22, 23. It fluctuated for the Greeks. They could make one up. And so that was a big part of why Socrates was put to death. They say he corrupted the youth. They make it all sound sexual and all this other stuff. No, it had to do with enlightenment towards the idea of one God, just one God, not 15. And the Greeks didn't want to hear that. And the Romans, you saw what they did to Christ.
Right.
So, or they let the Jews do it, or his own people do to him.
Did Jesus go to the Library of Alexandria at some point?
There's questions all around.
He did wander around.
So, you gotta, because see, they were burned before him, but there was information he could have gotten. Thomas, I think Thomas and Philip are the linchpins to understanding more about Christ than we've understood up to now. And I think doubting Thomas is just a good lesson for everyone. Witness the miracles that are in front of you every day, no matter how small or big, because they're happening. Mm-hmm. There's a lesson there. But it's hard to see the miracles if you're mired down in pain.
Yes. And
in
years,
poverty and
generations upon generations of generational trauma.
Right. You can't break it.
Well, you can. You can.
But by yourself, it's you need help.
Yeah. Lots of therapy and self-help books.
Lots of therapy and self-help books.
So we have to wrap this up.
It's good to talk to you, though.
It's been wonderful to talk to you. This has been fascinating. I've really enjoyed it. It's been completely outside of the norm for a big.
Well, yeah, and if they were here, I'd be talking about the hike and blah 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 and everything else.
And
but they're not. So it's cool. I missed them though. Tell them I said hey. I'm sure they might see this.
They just heard you. I'm sure, or they'll watch it and they'll be like, "Damn it, Tracy, this show was terrible." But
I don't know. I was thinking I got couple music. I might be coming down to sell a guitar in Nashville or something here in the next couple months. So maybe going over to my cousins in Knoxville. Maybe I'll try to come by or something.
You'll have to swing over.
Call ahead.
Hey, we could go to an open mic. One of Luke's open mics.
I've been known to do comedy now and then. I didn't say anybody liked it, but
it amused me.
I appreciate y'all having me on. And thanks for your time, Tracy.
Thank you for your time. And I hope you have a wonderful night and a great week. And I'll see you on Facebook.
I'll talk to you.
All righty.
Bye-bye.
Well, thanks for tuning in, everybody. And have a wonderful evening. I can hit this button to end the broadcast. Here it is. Okay.